Hello, friends. This is Nathan Winters from the Wyoming Family Alliance, and I want to give you a brief update from the Wyoming legislature as we move into week number 4 here in Cheyenne. In the coming week, we're going to look at how the Wyoming legislature is going to work through what we call crossover. And what that means is that in the coming days, they're going to have bills that if they don't make it past committee of the whole, also known as first reading in the House of Origin, those bills will die after a certain day. The second day, it'll be second reading. The third day, third reading. And then they have to make it all the way through by that point, or they are dead. And so it is a very busy week. We just came off of a busy week last week as many legislators worked until late in the evening several times, one evening till 10:30, to listen to the supplemental budget as it was heard in the House of Representatives and in the Senate as well. I want to bring your attention to just a few bills for sure today to let you know where they are. So first, I want to tell you about the Protecting Women's Private in Public Spaces. This was brought by Representative Martha Lawley. That is now passed completely through the House of Representatives and sits ready to go in the Senate. It'll soon be sent off to a Senate committee where it will be heard there. So it's made it all the way through the House at this point. Secondly, we had the same thing happen with the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. That's Representative Art Washut from Casper. He's worked so hard on this legislation, done a great job. And so it's going to go through and be heard soon in a Senate committee as well. There are 3 bills that really focus on the subject of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And as you know, that phrase, diversity, equity, and inclusion, means the exact opposite of how most people understand diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's a term that's been used to generally describe something that drives very left-leaning agenda items and actually can take over institutions, either in government or, as we see it often, in educational institutions. And so 3 bills are moving forward. First, we have compelled speech is not free speech. Senator Lynn Hutchings brought this bill, and it's a tremendous bill because it really points out the fact that if a person tells you how you can and cannot address them, specifically when it comes to what sex they are or what name you call them, when they force you to become complicit with their own feelings about themselves, what they've done is they have invaded your right to a free conscience, especially if they force you to call them, if they're a man, if they force you to call them a woman and so on. It's one of those where you begin to infringe on your own conscience rights. And so that's the reason why I'm really appreciative of this bill, Senate File 77. Compelled speech is not free speech. It's very clear. Secondly, Representative Rachel Rodriguez Williams brought prohibition of institutional discrimination. And that's when government institutions begin to tell you how you can and cannot respond to certain things, how you will introduce yourself, whether you have to write a him, his, or different pronouns and things like that. This basically says that has no business being driven by government institutions. That's made it all the way through the House of Representatives and sits in the Senate now. And then lastly, it'll be heard on third reading in the Senate and then be sent to the House, hopefully sometime probably on Monday of this coming week, and it's a more comprehensive bill from Senator Sherry Steinmetz, and it's called Terminating and Defunding Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and it focuses in on the University of Wyoming. There was a lot of compelling testimony that was brought that shows how individuals there have been told that they have to diminish their conscience rights at the University of Wyoming, or how they have to take classes that basically force a very left-wing Marxist, neo-Marxist agenda. And so I'm really thankful for these 3 bills and the hard work that they've done. Another bill that has made it out of its House of Origin and goes to the other chamber is House Bill 43, Age Verification for Websites with Harmful Material. Again, this is Representative Martha Lawley, who's done a lot of work on this. Her skill as a lawyer really shines through as she's able to demonstrate how this bill works, how it lines up with the law, and how it actually protects young people. I'm really appreciative of the hard work done there. While there are many other bills, let me just tell you about 2 more before we sign off for this week. First, A bill made its way all the way through the House and will soon be heard in the Senate, and that is House Bill 199, the Wyoming Freedom Scholarship Act. This bill is really received a lot of attention, especially from teachers' unions and other left-leaning organizations, and I'm really thankful for the hard work and the coalition that has developed around it. I do believe there will be some amendments brought to the bill. I don't believe it will harm the bill at all. It'll actually help refine it. But I'm really appreciative of the work that's been done to get to this point. Do continue to watch this bill and pray for it, and pray for Representative Ocean Andrew. Recently, there was a group that began to target his place of business. He owns a number of food trucks. Maybe you've seen them, called On the Hook. And they travel all around the state of Wyoming, but actually into neighboring states as well. And so they have been, the left has been calling for a boycott of his food trucks. So do continue to lift him up in prayer. Another bill I want to tell you about is House Bill 200, Parent Rights Amendments. This is from a freshman legislator, Representative Joe Webb, who's done tremendous work. He brought a significant amendment that changed the bill to answer a number of the questions that had been brought about the bill, and I think it has sharpened it up to some degree. So I really believe that this bill will do well. I believe it will help answer the question of what happens when the K-12 education system tries to drive a wedge between the parent and their child. I think this legislation will help significantly. It has made it all the way through the House of Representatives and now sits in the Senate as well. Two more bills I want to just bring to your attention as well. One of them, it was sad that the bill was even brought, but it was called House Bill 162, Interactive Gaming. What that would have done is essentially created a monopoly where the only people that could have brought some sort of gambling platform to a cell phone near you was DraftKings, FanDuel, and a couple of other large players. And what they were trying to say is they were trying to protect everyone from bad actors. Well, the obvious question rises, what exactly is a bad actor and how are they protecting us by insisting they have a monopoly? Those questions, I think, have really helped sharpen the conversation. And as a result, this particular bill was ended. It died in committee. And one of the first times I've ever seen a bill die in committee where there wasn't even a second for the bill. And so I'm really appreciative of those who spoke about this. This is clearly a family values issue. And so this is something, though, that in the years to come, we're going to have to pay close attention to. Lastly, a bill we didn't intend to get heavily involved in, but I do think it's such an important bill. It's called House Bill 275 and is simply entitled Treatment of Animals. Well, House Bill 275 was written in response to a man who had run over a wolf with a snowmobile. And sadly, as a result of that, the bill was injured but wasn't killed outright. And what he did is wound up using duct tape, taping the wolf's mouth shut, sort of torture the wolf. The wolf was in agony, and instead of just ending the situation, he took it to a local bar and then basically allowed this tortured animal to be shown off as a trophy, and then he took it out back and then finally killed it. Now, the thing is, we as Christians are called not to worship nature. We are called to basically bring nature into subjection in a very thoughtful way. That's in Genesis chapter 1. But then Genesis chapter 2 tells us that we are to tend and keep the earth. Those two words, tend and keep, when you look at it in the original Hebrew, means quite literally to serve and to cultivate the earth. So it doesn't mean that we become subservient to some sort of Mother Earth. Nor does it mean that we operate in a way that is cruel or does not demonstrate the kind of managerial success we ought to be showing. And so this bill, I'm so thankful that it's continued the process of moving forward toward passage. And so all of these have happened just here in this last week, and things are going to continue to pick up before we reach crossover. Then we'll see a little bit of a lull as things make it through the next step, and then it'll begin to speed up again and again. And so please stay tuned to wyomingfamily.org, or you can also follow individual bills as you go to wyofambilltracker.com, and you can stay up to date with what's happening here at the Wyoming Legislature. Thank you so much for all of your prayer and for paying attention to these important things that concern all of us across the state of Wyoming. Thank you so much.